Rick Wolf. At least once a year, I like to spend some time going over the basic misconceptions and misunderstandings when it comes to active college recruiting of high school athletes. I haven't got enough time during the course of the hour to tell you about the hijinks that I went through this morning to get down here to WFAN studios, but I can tell you we lost power, I guess the middle of yesterday afternoon. We had no power all night. Power and lights are still off. House is freezing. This involves going around, driving around trees on our driveway, driving over our front lawn, running, trying to escape down power lines, black ice spinouts on the cross-county parkway, detours all over the place, block roads, you name it. And I got to tell you, the only reason I'm here this morning, live in the studio, is thanks to the extraordinary driving talents of my beloved wife, Trish, who manned the controls with the car this morning, and she was just spectacular. So a tip of the cap to my beautiful and lovely wife, Trish Wolf. Okay, now, today is something of a first, because I've been doing this show since 1998, and in all those years, I can't ever recall asking the same guest back 2 weeks in a row, but today I'm doing just that. The truth is, I received such a tremendous response in terms of emails and correspondence regarding Wayne Mazzoni's helpful tips and advice about the college recruiting process that I decided to ask Wayne to get up early again on this Sunday morning and to come back on the show to take more of your questions. And as I mentioned on last week's show, let's be honest, for most student athletes and their parents, getting recruited to play at the collegiate level is the ultimate achievement in amateur sports. It's really quite remarkable. After all those years of tryouts and practices and driving here for travel teams and showcases, this is a big payoff to somehow get onto the radar of a college program, a coach to come after you and say, you know, son, or to a girl, you know, we'd like to have you come play for our college, either at Division I, II, or III level. And I have to tell you, it is sort of as wonderful as that whole process is, it tends to be something of a crapshoot because you never know what's going to happen once the youngster becomes a freshman on campus. And let's face it, the whole process, when a kid looks at a college, it's, well, the kid goes there, looks around, see what kind of kids go to school there. Maybe he or she hangs out with some of the athletes who are already enrolled at the school. They meet the coach, they see the facilities. That's really about it. But when you get down to it, and moms and dads, I'm talking to you, there are so many unknowns. I mean, will the youngster actually fit in? Will they be good enough to make the team? Will they enjoy playing for the coach? Remember, a lot of high school kids, most high school kids, in fact, do not go on to play college sports, and the ones who do, the sad reality is that many of them end up not enjoying the experience of playing sports in college, and a lot of them actually get disgruntled and end up transferring to someplace else. We'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, let me just say I want to talk about Wayne Mazzoni for a second. He is in his 16th year of coaching college sports. He's currently at Sacred Heart University in Bridgeport, Connecticut. His book, Get Recruited, The Definitive Guide to Playing College Sports, is where you should start in terms of getting to know the basics. Wayne speaks all the time to high school programs and groups, and in short, he basically knows what he's talking about, which is why I have him on the show every year. If you want more information about Wayne, please go to his website. It's WayneMazzoni.com. Wayne, good morning. How have you survived the storms?
Well, I'm all right so far. The issue is I may have to have Trish come pick me up because I got somewhere to go after the show, and now you got me stressed out about the road. So otherwise, fine. My kids are outside making snowmen instead of carving pumpkins, so it's definitely a different day before Halloween.
It is, again, here in lower Manhattan, it looks like there was not much snow, if anything. But again, if you head north, it's just very much like the situation with Hurricane Irene. Power lines, trees down everywhere, mountains of snow. It's just horrific. I don't think that my wife, well, maybe she'll be interested in working as a chauffeur. We'll talk to her after the program. Wayne, let's start with this basic overall question. And by the way, friends, I will take your calls, of course, at our toll-free line. It's 1-877-337-6666, brought to you by Mohegan Sun. create your moment at MoheganSun.com. Time to shine. But Wayne, let's talk about this. How should a parent really try to figure out the whole process and making sure that their son or daughter ends up at the right college, not only in terms of their athletic needs, but their overall needs as well?
That's a great question, and I think what I would advise people is that when you're first getting into the college search / recruiting process, you should start looking at colleges as if the sports piece is not going to work out. Because you mentioned it, there's a small percentage that actually get recruited, play as a college freshman. But if you go on college websites and look at how many freshmen and then how many seniors, there's a pretty big attrition rate for a variety of reasons, whether it's injury or not having any fun, or a coach recruits better players and they don't make the team in the future, or it's academics, or it's financial. There's a lot of reasons where kids stop playing. And to go to a school that is not ideal in terms of its size and its distance and its the major or the cost or whatever it is, you go there just because it's nice to get recruited by a coach, and then the sport doesn't work out. Then sophomore year, you're looking there going, hold on, I came here for the sport. I'm not playing that. Now what am I doing? I'm at this place where I don't want to be. So that's the worst scenario to be in. There's so many schools out there that you should be able to find a school that's perfect for everything. And then if the sports aspect doesn't work out, you still love the school, still make lifelong friends, still get your degree, and nothing's really changed other than your sports aspect. And then you can play intramurals or club and still have fun. But unfortunately, some kids just want that attention and put a school on their radar that otherwise wouldn't be there because of the sports. And when that doesn't work out, that's the kid that gets on the 5-6 year plan, transfers, and it's really difficult to go through that process.
Well, I want to get that in a second. I just want to underscore a couple of thoughts here. First of all, as you said, if a kid gets into the athletic program as a freshman and he or she isn't seeing much playing time, is sort of on the perimeter, on the bubble, fairly low on the depth chart, well, the typical top high school athlete says to oneself, well, I'll just, after my freshman year, I'll just go back and work that much harder and impress the coaches in my sophomore year. But what, unfortunately, they don't understand, because this doesn't really happen in high school, but in college, there's a whole new batch, a whole new wave of new recruits coming in the next year. So if you're not seeing a lot of quality playing time as a freshman, don't think for a second that you're going to have a better shot your sophomore year, because much of other kids are coming right behind you.
Yeah, listen, the one aspect of recruiting and of college athletics you really can't measure is somebody's work ethic, their drive, their motivation. So I have seen those kids that didn't play as freshmen and sophomores go on to be, key members of the team and captains and key players later in their career. But kind of for every one of those that happens, there's another kid that's a junior walking around campus who's not playing the sport anymore. And, you never know who that's going to be. But at the same time, as long as those two kids selected the school for the right reasons, they're both happy. But
yeah, again, the key qualifier here, Wayne, of course, is as long as they selected the school for the right reasons. And again, to me, as you said, the ultimate key question is, okay, if you went to college here and suddenly you got hurt and you couldn't play sports at all, would you still be happy to be a student on this campus? And that's a lot of kids said, sure, I love this place, but they have to really think about this, what life would be like as a college student, no longer suiting up or playing on a sports team. And that's the ultimate difficult choice they have to make.
This is one thing I get sort of surprised at all the speeches I go out to. One of the things I say in the beginning of the talk is, if you or your children have been to more than 15 colleges, raise your hand. No one's hand goes up. If you've been to 10 to 15 schools with your kids, raise your hand. No hands go up. 5 to 10 schools, you get a couple. 0 to 5, most people. So it's like we're talking about this concept of college, and yet the kids haven't been out there, haven't seen campuses, haven't watched the practice, haven't watched the game. I mean, yeah, you could throw on ABC and watch Stanford play USC, but, you're not going to see Western Connecticut play Eastern Connecticut in football. So these kids, more than anything, have to get out there and have to learn what they like and don't like. Otherwise, college is this concept that is foreign. It's like saying, would you like to live in Iowa, but you've never been to Iowa? You don't have a lot of information to go on.
And the other thing, too, is, as you just mentioned this, there's still a certain amount of status, like, oh, yeah, I don't want to play for a D3. I want to go play for D1. I mean, I was a star football player in high school, so I should go and play at Notre Dame or at Michigan or someplace. Well, have you considered playing at at this D3 program. Well, I haven't heard that D3 program. Yeah, well, the fact of the matter is it's a really competitive school, and it'd be tough making that team. Oh, come on, it's D3. It's just like intramurals. And that mythology persists all over the place. And again, this is where, as you said, you know, Wayne and I agree with you last week, you got to go, you got to visit the schools, you got to go watch practices in person, you got to see games in person, do your homework, because, you know, it's just not, playing Division III sports is not just is not intramurals. It's serious stuff, and yet it's still unbelievably prestigious to play in a team where you're going to play all the time.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is most people are aware of that Division I, in at least most conferences, is a scholarship level of athletics. So is Division II, and Division III is not. So I think the misconception is that those coaches don't recruit, those coaches don't run the programs the same way. No, they want to win. They run practice the same way. They're just as demanding.
Mm-hmm.
There's just limitations on scholarship money in the recruiting process, and there's limitations on season length and practices and those types of things. But if you talk to anyone who's been through a Division III program, especially at a place like a Cortland, oh my goodness, I mean, SUNY Cortland has facilities of almost any D1 program. That is a tremendous jump over high school. It's probably more of a jump over high school than Cortland would be to Boston College.
No, I'm all aware of SUNY Cortland. They have tremendous athletic program there. They have great athletes. Sure, it's D3 in name only,
right.
But don't kid yourself. It's big time. All right, I'm going to take a break. Wayne, stay with me. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines. We'll take your calls at 1-877-337-6666. I want to talk a little bit, in addition to taking your questions, talk about the hassles, the obstacles in terms of transferring. Talk about the actual questions that if you as a sports parent, you should be asking of a coach who's recruiting your kid. These are incredibly important questions that you should know about. Okay, back with more right after this.
WFAN New York.
WFAN on Sports Radio 66, The Fan, WFAN.
Talking this morning with Wayne Mazzoni, talking for the second week in a row about the art and science of college recruiting. It is very complicated and has a lot of subtleties, and we're taking your calls at 1-877-337-6666. And before I go to the callers, Wayne, let's just talk very briefly about transferring while one is in college. Again, there are lots of nuances involved here, but you know, a lot of kids, a lot of parents say, well, my kid got here as a freshman. Either they're not getting much playing time, they're not getting along with the coach, whatever the reason may be, they don't like the college, whatever the reason may be, if they want to transfer, and let's talk specifically now from Division I to another Division I program, they're going to have to sit for an entire year, correct?
Yeah, let's put it this way. If anyone listening is in that situation, there's two ways to go, first of all. Number one, if you go to the NCAA website or just Google NCAA transfer rules, there's a whole packet you can read through, because the one difficult part about it is it's a case-by-case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you can't really sort of blanket give an answer on the situation. It depends partly whether they were recruited to the school, whether they were a qualifier or not, how they got there, what their actual role was once they were there. Did they play, or did they just come to a practice, get cut, and want to leave? So the second piece of advice would be then to talk to the compliance person, and every college has one, at that particular school about your options. A lot of the tough area in this process is that a kid doesn't want to burn a bridge with the coach, so they don't want to walk into the coach, say, Coach, I'm thinking about leaving, because they're worried what that might mean. So to go talk to that compliance person and say, listen, I'm just trying to find out what my options would be. Should I leave and go to this school or this school or this school? What's the scenario? Because that person's going to know much more than I could ever know. So if someone called in and said, here's the scenario, I could probably help them. But it just goes back to, that's why you really want to do it right the first time, because it can be difficult. And if you, based on the question, you said Division I to Division I, yeah, generally 99% of the time you'll have to sit out what they call a year in residence. So you'll go to the new school, be there for a full year, and you're not able to play until that year is done.
Yeah, and again, there are all sorts of, as you say, subtleties and nuances with this. Definitely go to ncaa.org and find out, or go to the compliance rules. As I said, if you go from Division I program to Division III, sometimes you don't have to sit a year, but it is very complicated, and it's not as easy as one might think. And of course, as Wayne just pointed out, if you think you might be thinking about transferring, as soon as you go to the compliance officer, and say, well, I might be leaving to go someplace else, well, that's going to get back to your coach. I mean, it's complicated, simple as that. That's why it's so important to make sure you find the right college and the right program before you enroll. Okay, let's go to some of our callers here. Let's go to Douglas in Connecticut. Good morning, Douglas. You're on the fan.
Good morning, and gentlemen, I can't agree with you more. My nephew is a scholarship basketball player at Sacred Heart, and we went through the same exact thing. And what parents need to understand that the gentleman has to, or young lady has to live there and be comfortable where they're at. The parents get in these recruiting home visits, and they hear what the coaches say, and then they kind of make a decision for their kid, and sometimes that's not a good thing. I took him around the country, like you said, saw practices, saw what they were at, made him sit and watch a practice of a higher D-level 1 school, and he understood this was a good fit for him, close enough to home, where he wanted to be, and he knew the coaches and felt good about the coaches. And most parents have to understand that it's not about them; it's about the kid, and the kid has to be comfortable. So
what you're saying, Douglas, is that in this case, your nephew did his homework and he's happy at Sacred Heart, correct?
Oh, he did his homework. I've taken kids around the country on recruiting visits for years. And I make kids do their homework and make kids understand about this is $40,000 a year. This is not a given each and every year. You have to earn it each and every year. So, and like you said, they bring in other recruits each and every year. So you've got to understand that this is a role for you to play in your life, and at the end of 4 years, it's over. You may not be going to play professional basketball, a professional football. You're there for an education. That's your main goal.
Yeah, Douglas, that's well said, and thank you for calling in this morning. Wayne, along those lines, we mentioned this the other day. I just want to make sure that sports parents understand this. Athletic scholarships are not guaranteed. They have to be renewed every year. And obviously it's incumbent upon the student athlete to, they can be dismissed, for their grades not being up to snuff. It may be an issue with discipline, but it's not, once you get that scholarship or partial scholarship, it's not guaranteed. It's year to year, and I don't think a lot of kids or parents know that.
No, you're right, and I think that there's also sort of a misconception that the coach is also a general manager. So in other words, that basketball kid, hey, you scored 22 points a game this year, we'll give you more money. You scored only 11, we'll take it away. That really doesn't happen, because that puts you in that mode of having a lot of disgruntled kids. And now when that recruit goes in for a visit and meets the team, and then 6 kids hate the coach because he or she's taking money away, that really doesn't happen. You're right, the money can be taken away for a variety of reasons, really all related to off the court, off the field type thing. But back to what Doug was saying, too, is the only thing, one of the roles I think parents should have in terms of the selection of a school is to say, listen, this is what we can afford. So you'd love to go here, here, and here. We can't afford it. Here's the 3 or 4 we can afford. Now you go figure out which one you feel the most comfortable at. But, the aspect of paying for college is something we don't cover. It's not really our expertise, but my goodness, schools are very expensive, and not every school is open to every kid just based on the financial aspect.
And just as a PS to that, understand, sports parents, that with the exception of perhaps college football, college basketball, maybe ice hockey, which those 3 are major revenue producers, most other sports do not make money for the university, and as a consequence, it's very rare to get a full scholarship in a non-revenue producing sport. Usually it's sliced and diced to maybe a quarter, maybe a third, but that's the way it is. So that means the rest of the tab you have to pick up, and universities these days, they cost $40,000, $50,000 a year, and that's the reality. So that all goes into the whole equation of finding the right school for your son or daughter. Let's go to Chuck out in Comac. Hi, Chuck. You're on the fan.
Hey, how you doing? I just want to make a quick comment. There's a reason why the guest is back here second week in a row, because it's a great segment what you guys are doing talking about this.
Well, thank you, Chuck. That's exactly why I brought Wayne Mazzoni back, because people have questions about this for sure. So.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't heard this on radio, and it'd be nice to have maybe a steady segment. You know, give us 15 minutes, a half hour every Sunday. Get the word out. This is something that's really good.
Okay, well, I'll see what we can do. Do you have a question?
As long as someone can watch my kids at 8, now I'm all set. Yeah.
All right, I got a quick question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Wrestling. A wrestling red shirt. Does she get to wrestle in the NCAA tournament?
As a freshman red shirt?
Correct.
No. If you're redshirting that whole year. You can practice with the team. You're not in any actual competitions the whole year. From preseason, during season, postseason, you're out that whole year, and then you still have your 4 years left. But now, I guess if maybe there's a way you're asking it, could that person then actually start wrestling at any point during the year? Of course, and you give up the redshirt year. So you'll see that in college football. They got a third-string quarterback as a freshman because they got 2 upperclassmen ahead of them. They want this kid to develop. All of a sudden, someone gets hurt, someone's ineffective. Boom, that kid starts playing. He's given up that redshirt year. So the answer is to keep the redshirt. No, you can't wrestle. Can you start wrestling and lose the redshirt? Yes.
Yeah. Chuck,
okay, so if they did wrestle you at any point during the season, you lose that 5th year.
Absolutely. Now, the only other issue is a medical situation.
Yeah.
So let's say the kid wrestles the first 2 or 3 matches, dislocates an elbow out for the season. Each sport has its rules on what percentage or how far into the season the person, competed, and then, you can apply for a medical red shirt. So that's the only other thing that I know. But if that kid's on the red shirt and then goes in and starts wrestling, then that year is given up. Yep.
Chuck, thanks for the call and nice comments. Appreciate it. Let's go quickly to Sayreville, New Jersey. Hello, Michael. You're on the fan.
Good morning. What a great subject. I have 2 sons. One went to Division III, and the other one played in Division I. The biggest thing you said today is the parents have got to expose these young people to the different scenarios. We never have one big fault of parents. They think all their kids are D1 athletes.
Correct.
We knew from the get-go. The first son wasn't going to go D1. He was a good quarterback, good arm, no feet, and he ended up playing in Division I. Had a great experience. The younger son also went a different route. He went to junior college, then he got into a D1 program, and it was very successful. So there's different scenarios and different areas to attack it. But great show, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, and thank you for underscoring what we're saying, that parents have to understand that, not every kid, even though they had superior high school credentials or travel team credentials or showcase credentials, not every kid is going to end up playing at a D1 program. You watch that, college sports, college football on Saturdays, and you look at the kids on the field, that's where obviously your attention is drawn. But look on the sidelines, there are dozens of guys on the sidelines who are working just as hard, just as committed, who would love to spend some time getting some quality playing time in the game, but it doesn't happen. And as I said, it's very, very competitive, much more competitive than most parents understand. And you say to yourself, well, maybe the kid should play at a D2 or D3 program. Still, it's top-flight competition. But again, the question is, if it's all about playing the sport, find a program where you're actually going to play.
And he was calling from New Jersey. I can think of Montclair State, William Patterson College in New Jersey, where there's some serious level Division III athletics in that state. I mean, extremely competitive. And sometimes the difference between the Division III kid and the Division I kid is not huge. I mean, probably those kids that were Division III, high recruits, are kids that got on the radar at a Division I school, possibly could have played, but just could see, I'm probably not their lead recruit, or it's going to be a battle the whole time I'm here, and I'll just go somewhere where I'm going to get more playing time. But that gentleman said, the one son didn't have the feet as well. So it's like they're so talented, but they're just missing 1 or 2 little pieces of the game, and it's sometimes physical, most of the time physical piece, height, speed, strength, that makes them Division III. But anyone calling from Jersey, go pop in on one of those 3 schools and realize what you're in store for.
We're talking with Wayne Mazzoni. You can find out more information about Wayne, his expertise at WayneMazzoni.com. And just again, when I was coaching college baseball at the D2 level. I remember we used to go and play the D3 baseball programs over in Jersey. And Wayne, you know, and I know, they're D3 in name only because those programs are dynamite. And the fact of the matter is, because baseball is a non-revenue producing sport, I'm sure a lot of these kids said, well, I can't get much of a scholarship to go to a D1 program. If I go to a school in Jersey, I can still play a lot of baseball, quality baseball, and yet pay a lot less in terms of the tuition. And that's the reality. So anyhow, I think that's something parents really have to do their homework about and check out for sure. Again, the key in all this, I think, is playing time. Now, let me take a pause here. John Minko has the update. We'll come back, take more of your calls. We're talking to Wayne Mazzoni. Stay with me. Back with more after this.
WFAN New York.
Hey, friends, don't forget at 9 o'clock this morning, of course, Mike Francesa will be here live and in person with the NFL Now. Make sure you stick around and hear what Mike has to say about the National Football League today. I always, of course, urge you to go to my website, which is askcoachwolf.com. And obviously post your thoughts, comments, and questions on there. We get a lot of really good traffic. And, of course, you can always find the podcasts of my show, The Sports Edge, on the WFAN.com website. All you have to do is go to the podcasts, a link on the FAN homepage, and just click through there to find my name and photo, and you'll find the show and previous broadcasts. We're talking this morning with Wayne Mazzoni. Speaking of high school sports, I want to mention a new service that's being designed and ready to be launched called Quick Score. Has an unusual spelling of Quick Score. It's spelled QWIXCORE. It comes from maxpreps.com. Basically, Quick Score is an app that can provide you with live score updates from ongoing high school games. Now, for more information, you just go to maxpreps.com and click the link for Quick Score with that unusual spelling. It's QWIXCORE. We're talking, as I said, with Wayne Mazzoni. Wayne, let's get back to our callers. Let's go to our friend Mike over in East Rockaway. Hi, Mike. You're on the fan.
Good morning, Rick.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Yes, Wayne. Good morning. You know, Rick, real quick, I have people on deck. I listen every Sunday, and your show should be required listening 101. Sport parenting, the things you see, and the things you will get involved in over the years. Anyway, I have friends whose kids graduated high school. I have a son who's 16, playing through sports. Today, as you know, Rick, with what you've seen over the decades, and today schools look at the character of the child and academics. I have a buddy whose son got hurt 2 years ago, lacrosse, playing Division II, and he was a borderline student, and he got so distraught that he wound up leaving school. And the whole focus and the whole premise of getting a scholarship to college, and some parents still have pipe dreams that their kids will get, but that's another story. But the stress has to be on academics, and that's why you're fortunate enough that you have athletic prowess on a ball field, basketball court, or wherever, to gain entry into a good school, and you have to buckle down and focus on the primary drive while you're there.
Well, Mike, I'm glad you brought this up, and thank you as always for your nice comments about the show. But Wayne, the truth of the matter is, we're talking about the recruiting process. It all starts. The first thing any coach looks at is, what are the kids' academics? Is this kid got a real chance to actually gain admittance into the university or college? They look at the grades, look at the SATs, the ACTs. Is this kid actually going to have is he going to come in for a semester and still be there after the first year? I mean, that's where it all starts.
Yeah, I think actually it goes both ways. I think that's the first thing when, after you find a player you like, talent-wise, always, at any school, the next piece is the grades from, are they eligible? And then secondly, can they get into the school? And once they're in the school, will they, keep up their grades to stay eligible? I think also from a parent perspective is in the recruiting process, coaches should be telling these kids and the parents how they're going to handle the sport and academics. I mean, everyone's goal should be to go to college, to learn, to get a degree, to get a job. So with a lot of sports, especially at the D1 level, with a ton of time and a commitment, one of the questions that I would have as a parent is, how does my son or daughter schedule classes? What if they miss class? Is there tutors? Do they get to pick classes first before regular students so they can schedule them around, practices and games. And we deal with these kids at Sacred Heart who are the science majors who have labs. Labs aren't optional. You have to go to labs. The labs are generally during practice time or game times. How do you handle that? So this overriding question from parents during the recruiting process should be, what is in place at this school to help my son or my daughter graduate with good grades in 4 years and then have a good career after that?
I mean, that is absolutely one of the basic questions. Look, the parents know what kind of student their son or daughter is, and they're going to be on their own in college, and playing sports is a huge time commitment, much more so than it was in high school. And they have to say, okay, Coach, what kind of safety nets does a school offer in terms of tutors or study programs, or what about if they have a lab on a Tuesday afternoon? Are they going to be forced to miss that to go to practice? These are essential questions that parents have to ask. Let's get back. It's Michael in Virginia is calling. Good morning, Michael. You're on the Fan.
Yeah, good morning, Coach Wood. Good morning, Wayne. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Okay, just to let you know, we don't have any snow down here, so we're...
Thanks.
But, I had a couple questions. I talk to parents all the time myself as well, and parents are talking about gray shirt. What are some of the benefits of athlete having the opportunity to go gray shirt? And that's the first question. And the second question, I read something in the paper this week about the NCAA looking at multiple scholarship years. How soon do they think that reform is going to go into effect? And I'll listen to my answer offline.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Wayne, are you familiar with the term gray shirt?
No, that you pulled one on me. So I either missed it or maybe he means red shirt. So I don't know, unless gray shirt is the type of thing where we talked about with the wrestler before that will come in
and
either be possibly going to be red shirted or not. And God, I wish you'd call back or email me because I'd like to know more about that term. I really haven't heard it.
Michael, do us a favor. We're not familiar with the term gray shirt, so if there's some term we'd like to be educated about, just drop me an email on AskCoachWolf.com, and we'll obviously explore it for you. But, it is something that, again, it reflects a lot of the subtleties that go into not only when a kid is actually enrolled at a university, but whether or not if they get injured or they're trying to obviously strategize in terms of having too many players in 1 year, and they want to hold a kid back so that, in effect, he gets a fifth year to play. I mean, it's a real strategy, and it's very, very complicated. In fact, one thing, before I take another break here, one thing I do want to talk about, because this keeps coming up, are the essential questions that all parents should be asking of coaches when they sit down. And friends, trust me, I was a college baseball coach for a number of years, and so I know the routine, I know the pattern quite well myself. And I'm trying to get a kid to enroll in my college. The kid's talented. Chances are that, he or she is being pursued by other colleges as well. So as a college coach, I'm going to say certain things that are going to make my program look good in a positive light. And I'm going to say things to you as the parent or the kid that's going to pump you up. The question is, after you go through all the flattery and the smiles and so on and so forth, you got to then, at the end of the conversation, say to the coach, well, I got some few basic thoughts here, questions you have to answer. Number one is my kid definitely going to make the team as a freshman? That's important. You can put it right to the coach. Number two, will my kid be on the traveling squad? Meaning that when the team goes on the road during the season, is my kid definitely going to be in that travel squad? Again, you should ask that question during the recruiting process. Number three, how many other kids are you recruiting at the same position as my son or my daughter? Again, you owe it to your son or daughter to ask that question. Number four, if money is being talked about, how much of a scholarship are we really, discussing? I mean, are we talking about a full scholarship? Are we talking about a half? Are we talking about a third? Colleges, the coaches know what kind of budget they have, and under the NCAA rules, at Division I, Division II, you can handle, they can offer you room and board, tuition, and now, of course, there's a new rule just passed this week where they can offer you, in effect, $2,000 for spending money on top of all that. And number five, I would ask the coach directly, Coach, what is your contract like? How long are you planning to stay in this program? Because the worst thing that can happen to a kid is you go in there, you're recruited by a coach, you're there a freshman year, and the coach takes a job someplace else. A new coach comes on board, and Wayne, you know this, the new coach brings their own kids in. These are the kind of things that make it so easily tripped up. But again, if you don't ask these questions, don't expect your 18-year-old to ask these questions. You as a mom or dad have to ask these thoughts. And then, just to make things so it's all no misunderstanding, I would then email the coach after the meeting and say, Coach, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here regarding these questions we had, and get it in writing, because that way you do have a formal document that talks about exactly what was discussed. I mean, this is, to me, and again, I can tell you as a college coach myself, these are the kind of questions that if parents ask me, I have to be straightforward with. All right, stay with me. Back with more with Wayne right after this.
WFAN New York.
Big Wall on Sports Radio 66. The Fan, WFAN.
Wrapping up the Sports Edge, I have a couple more minutes with Wayne Mazzoni. And friends, I urge you to go to his website, WayneMazzoni.com. As I said, if you listen to this hour and last week's hour, you know how complicated the sports recruiting business is. And those parents and kids who take the time to explore this and really do their homework are the ones who will obviously greatly benefit from it. Wayne, I just went through a whole bunch of questions that parents and have to ask of coaches. Did I miss anything there that you can think of that perhaps parents should also add to their ask list?
Well, I think it's this. I look at it this way. If a parent was interviewing for a job and the company really wanted to hire them, they would sort of sell them on why that person should come to work for them. What they're probably not going to do is tell them the things that would turn them off. So in other words, hey, come to this company. By the way, when you get here, the person sitting next to you is just going to drive you crazy. That's why the last guy quit, because he couldn't handle the coworker in the next desk over. See, bottom line is, coaches will explain lots of things in recruiting, but there's so many areas, from strength training to trainers to team doctors to insurance to from financial to so many travel. How does the team travel by bus or van, or do kids jump in each other's car to go to practices and games off-site? So there's kind of like you should either go to the NCAA's list. My book has a list of questions just to kind of know what should be covered. Then the other piece of that is that recruits should ask kids on the team if the answer the coach gave was the truth. So, a kid could get that answer, as you mentioned, yeah, you'll play as a freshman, and then the kid talks to kids in the team, and, no freshmen play, or that's what they tell all the recruits. So most coaches are really pretty straight up about this. I mean, however, the bottom line is you need to know what to look for. Otherwise, you just sit there and just believe what you're told, and it may be reality, it may not be.
I mean, look, friends, it's a selling process, and as I said, you have to be asking the tough questions. The coach obviously is trying to sell you and your son and daughter and going there, but they're going to everything's going to be sunshine and cream. Understand it's complicated, and it's up to you to be your best advocate and ask the right questions. Wayne Mazzoni, my thanks as always. As I said, this is unprecedented to have a guest on the show 2 weeks in a row, but obviously it's a lot of ground to cover, and you just did a splendid job, Wayne. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Hope Trish gets you home safely.
Exactly right. Thanks, Wayne. And yeah, absolutely. I'm eagerly looking forward to get back in the car with Trish and heading up north and doing some shoveling and hopefully getting some power back on. A little chilly last night in the home. That's going to do it for me and this edition of the Sports Edge. My thanks, as always, to Dove Kramer. And please, if you would, stick around for Mike Francesa. He's straight ahead with the NFL Now. I'll see you next week right here on the Sports Edge.